Hey Brad, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ken. Great to see you.
Yeah, I'm so interested to learn more about tapping. I think I mentioned to you before. I had this background with Tony Robbins. I was a trainer for him, and um, I was like, "What the heck is this?" I saw it on the schedule one time, one of your colleagues, but I'll save what the results were for like later. I want to hear you talk a little bit more about it, but. The world of tapping, I'm sure, didn't, when you were in grade school, wasn't like, this is what I'm going to grow up and do. So,
Yes, I did. I did not do an oral report in third grade about how someday I'm going to grow up to have a tapping YouTube channel.
right, right. I mean, if it even existed back then, right? So tell me, and I know you've had, God, I thought I saw 40 million plus views or something like that. I might even have that number off.
Closing in on 50. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So maybe let's rewind a little bit then and tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Tell us about your early career and then how you got into this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So I'm a native Californian, and like so many other Californians, I fell into the career of acting and intended to that from early on that was what I expected to do. And got my degree in drama, studied acting in London, and then traveled the world doing theater. And then I decided, it's time to go to Hollywood and become a movie star, as one does.
Cool.
And while I was there, I met a woman, fell in love, and got married. And when our first child was on the way, I thought I might need a backup career to help support my new family.
Sure.
So I'd always been fascinated in the power of the mind, and I had listened to a fair amount of Tony's work and Jack Canfield and all these guys. And and I saw an ad for a hypnotherapy school, and I thought, oh, okay, I love hypnotherapy, the concept of it. I didn't have much familiarity with it, and went through that training, got certified, was on the staff there, started building a small practice alongside my acting career. And after a couple of more years, when our second child was on the way, I realized that as much as I loved acting, doing personal development work was my calling. It's like this is so much more fulfilling for me personally. This is what I'm here for. So we moved out of LA, moved to Northern California to be closer to our families. And through some other hypnotherapists, I heard about this energy psychology conference where this guy is doing this tapping work. And I thought, okay, I'm game. And for folks who are new to it, when we start tapping on our face, people go, it looks a little weird.
Right.
During my time as an actor, I had gone to Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Clown College. So this was not the strangest thing
Yeah,
I'd ever
yeah,
done at this point.
yeah, yeah. You
So
had you had some preconditioning going into it.
exactly. And so I thought this process was fascinating, and little by little it became my main modality in working with clients.
Yeah, it's funny when, like I mentioned at that seminar, there's been more than one, but the first one where Tony brought in somebody that did, tapping therapy, and um, I've done so many things in that environment where I've gone in very reluctant and a huge skeptic. You know what I mean? I'm like, really? Okay. If this is going to start solving my problems, okay. But I
Yeah.
play along, and that, like so many things that he's introduced, not that he created it, but he'll find someone, or some modality that's not widespread yet. And after a while, I start trusting. I'm like, okay, this is weird, but it probably works, or it wouldn't be here, right? And of course, it did. So, how did that become? So, when was that you really got into tapping? Like, how many years ago?
This is 24 years ago.
Okay, and when did it become something? You said you kind of switched your whole practice to it. When did you move into it full time? And how do you even market something like that at the beginning when I'm sure no one knew what it was? I mean, most people listening to this right now still don't know what we're talking about, but back then, like no one had ever heard of it. I'm sure.
It was still pretty new. The tapping as we know it was we basically look back to Dr. Roger Callahan around 1980. And then sometime in the years after that, in the next 10 years, one of his first students was a gentleman named Gary Craig, who's a big Tony Robbins fan. He has all kinds of photos of him from one of those, big events.
Hmm.
And he's the one that I learned it from in 2000. So yeah, it had been around in some form for 20 years, and it's based on acupuncture, which has been around for thousands of years. So when people can make that association, realize, okay, this is not like a brand new thing that was developed. It's just an extrapolation of what's been used successfully for thousands of years in Chinese medicine. Um, and yeah, so it was in within that first year. I had become a hypnotherapist in '96, I think it was. So I'd been doing that for about 4 years, and somewhere along the lines in 2000 that I little by little started introducing it, and probably by the beginning of 2001, it was probably becoming my main modality in working with clients. And I still love hypnosis. I still do that as part of my work, but it's primarily the tapping.
So, give us an overview of I think now people can get a mental picture. Okay, everybody knows what acupuncture is, at least what it looks like, right? But
Yeah.
what are things like acupuncture and tapping? What are they designed to do overall? What's an overall premise of this?
Yeah, so the premise behind acupuncture is that there's this flow of energy through the body, and
Mm-hmm.
it flows along these pathways called meridians. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being. When this energy gets blocked in some way or disrupted, then we don't feel so good. We experience all kinds of ailments, and we don't think as clearly. We don't make the best choices. That has all kinds of unfortunate consequences for our lives.
Sure.
So in traditional Chinese medicine, the doctor sticks needles in these key points. And these are points that we can find. They're points of lower electrical resistance. So you could take a galvanometer and actually find these different points in the body. They're not just made up.
So it's not woo woo. It's based on
It's
science.
not,
It's like
yeah.
there is a lack of energy right here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone once asked, "Would you call what you do woo-woo?" And I said, "No, I wouldn't call it that. You might, but
Right.
it's
Right.
there's a growing body of scientific research validating this process, and there's a number of theories about how it works. The idea of it, stimulating these points clears up these blockages in the energy, so it flows more freely. The tapping creates a phenomenon called piezoelectricity, which sends a calming signal to the brain. So when the amygdala perceives a threat, we go into fight or flight and go into the sympathetic nervous system. Then the tapping sort of expedites the parasympathetic nervous system, calming us down such that our thinking goes back into the prefrontal cortex where our higher brain functions are. And so we make better choices. Looking at how it affects the polyvagal system, the vagus nerve that runs up and down the spine and interacts with different organs and emotional regulation. So the exact mechanism, we have a lot of theories about that, but we do have the scientific research showing dramatic reduction in cortisol, one of the stress hormones. We have fMRI studies where you can see after the tapping how brain activity is normalized. So it's not just people saying, "Yeah, I think I feel better after tapping on my face."
Sure. I took NLP training, and I remember for the audience, it's neuro linguistic programming, and I remember the instructor for that really good guy, Matt. I can't think of his last name, but he's kind of he's pretty well known in those circles. But I think he had something like roses are red, violets are blue, energy is real, and so are you, or something like that. And it was just like getting past this idea. And I'm guessing in your career in this, because it can now be called a career, you've got over 2 decades in it. Um, Whether, like you said, it's not like you came in at the very beginning, you came in 20 years in, but 20 years ago, believing in like energetic forces in the human body, you had to be an outlier. Even if you were correct, that was an outlying opinion.
Yes.
That is now quickly, well, I shouldn't say quickly because it's taken
Not
decades.
nearly quickly enough, Ken.
It's like an overnight success that took 20 years, right? But all of a sudden now, no one's arguing the fact that that we contain energy, that energy impacts us, that we can do things to move energy and things that it used to just be like someone would be like, "Hey man, I like your energy," but now it's like, no, we all have it. It all gets blocked. Um, so because it's just tapping and it's not needles, then can people do it for themselves, or is it something they do with a guide, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's a great self-help technique. I recommend people do it on a daily basis because we experience more stress than we're aware of, especially because most of us are walking around with a little device that's constantly saying, "Hey, did you hear
Sure,
this? Here's something else to get upset about." And we
sure.
take that on and we don't even realize that it's there, and it affects our thought process and does not help us make the best choices, and so we don't get the best results. So to me, tapping is energetic hygiene. Just like you have physical hygiene, like brushing your teeth, taking a shower. Most of us do it on a regular basis before we need it. We don't usually wait until people are holding their nose around us and saying, now I need to,
Right,
clean myself up.
right.
But energetically, we don't have a way of doing that. And so tapping is a simple way, just, even if it's just a few minutes a day, that's better than nothing. And to your question earlier, it kind of folds in about how do you get the word out there and market. I When I started putting things online, I was making short tapping rounds that I had audios that were online in the early 2000s, and then around 2007, YouTube was fairly new at this point. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there's a tapping video that people could start their day with? And I'll call it Tap of the Morning, and it's all I intended to do. I had no concept of having a YouTube platform or doing anything with it. It's like, hey, this is something I think would help people. I'll put it out there. And then 6 months later, I thought, yeah, I should probably have one to end the day, and I'll call it Tap of the Evening. And then I'm done. And then I had another idea a few months later, and then another idea. Now I've got over 1,200 videos on all kinds of different subjects. So that's a very simple way for people, if they're not sure what to tap on, then they can follow along with the video. There are certain subjects, yeah, it's much better to work with someone. There are some places we shouldn't go alone, particularly if we're dealing with past trauma. But uh, but the tapping is definitely something that we can do on ourselves just to help down regulate stress, to clear out resistance when we have something to do. It's like, oh, I've got these to do items and I'm just not getting them done. I haven't, I want to write a book and I'm just not doing it. And it's like, okay, what's that resistance? And then I can tap to calm down the stress that's blocking me.
It's
It's
really
telling me to
crazy. I'm on your YouTube channel right now, 1,500 videos, over 300,000 subscribers. Like you said, approaching 50 million views. Having that many subscribers, it must be great because you put out a new piece of content. It immediately, I'm imagining, gets a decent amount of traction, like hundreds of thousands of views, I would think.
It did, yeah, I mean, I've been at this for what, 17 years.
Yeah,
So, um, yeah, I put out a new video every Monday morning, and there's a certain number of people that jump on them pretty early on, and it's just random things of, hey, what might be something that's bothering people that they do it. So I wear this blue wristband that says "Cultivate Peace." It's my marching orders. So I'm constantly thinking, what blocks people from having peace? All right, let's make a video about that.
that's cool. That's really cool. And you're just putting out so much content. I mean, this is all for free. I mean, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I'm able to. There are ads on there, so I get some
Sure.
revenue from that. The first 10 years, I didn't. It was never intended as a income machine. It was never intended as a marketing tool, although it's opened me up to being able to speak and present workshops around the world. And so it's definitely been a great marketing tool. But when I come up with ideas for videos, that's never it. It's just what would help people? What would help people
Right.
experience more peace, more success? Which, it's not completely altruistic because I live in this world. I want the
Right.
world to be a better place. Like, so I
Right.
benefit if other people are happier and more successful and more peaceful. I benefit from that. I have kids. It's a better world for my kids that way. So it's not entirely selfless, but it
No,
does
but
come from a place
it's
of wanting to make a difference and make it accessible to people who couldn't afford to hire a practitioner, at least not yet.
yeah, I love that. I think everybody's trying to sell their content these days. Nothing wrong with that, I guess, but there's just so much on here. So I don't know if I'm going to regret this or not, but I said I'd be up for a live demo. You ready to do it?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Always ready to
cool,
tap.
cool.
So, real quick, what I'll show folks is the very basic of EFT is you look at, okay, the standard thing is what's bothering me. So it may be I feel stressed out. It may be I feel afraid right now. It may be I am really pissed off at Bob right now.
Mm-hmm.
Bob just was a jerk and I'm really angry. So I'd take that as the basic statements. I am upset about this. And I'd rate that on a scale of 0 to 10 as to how intense it feels, and try to notice where in the body it might be. So I get this tension in my shoulders or a knot in my stomach. So we'll take the fingertips of our index and middle finger and gently tap on the opposite hand, on the side of your hand. And I'd say, even though I feel this stress, this fear, this anger at Bob, I choose to love and accept myself. We'd say that 3 times. Then we're going to go through these points. So starting at the eyebrow, and we gently tap each of these points, generally around 5 to 10 times. You don't have to keep count. And we'd repeat the basic phrase, all this stress or all this anger at Bob. And then we go to the side of the eye, under the middle of the eye, under the nose, and we'd repeat the same phrase at each point. Under the mouth, right here where the collarbones just about come together, there's a little U shape at the base of your throat. And you could actually make a fist and tap that whole area. At about 4 inches below your armpit, it's right about bra strap level, and even us guys can figure out what that is. And then finally, the top of your head. And then you'd take a deep breath and check again and say, okay, this anger at Bob, this stress. If it was an 8 before, maybe it feels like a 6 now. It may feel like a 7.75, but that's a little bit of relief. It may go down to a 0 like that. Sometimes that happens. So then we could continue on this remaining anger at Bob or whatever it might be. So that's the very basic version of tapping that anyone could do. But now we're gonna have a little bit of fun with it.
Okay.
So I'd like everyone to do is close your eyes, take a deep breath. And since this is the leader's lab, what I want you to do with your eyes closed is imagine looking in a full length mirror. See yourself there. And imagine yourself at a 10 in terms of scale of 0 to 10 being the most excellent leader you could be. Having all of the, really embracing all of the leadership qualities that you admire, that you value. Strong, confident, a great listener, uh, just whatever you imagine a great leader would be. And just notice on a scale of 0 to 10 how where you feel that you are at this moment. Do not judge yourself harshly if the number is lower than you'd like it to be. Just allow yourself to recognize, oh, okay, that's where I'm at. And notice what thoughts, beliefs, or memories might come up as to why you couldn't or shouldn't be at a 10, what you might be afraid of. What are you afraid would happen if you were at a 10 in terms of being a leader? And also notice any physical uh, experience that you have. Notice where you might feel resistance or fear or doubt in your body. Just allow yourself to be aware of that. Take a deep breath, open your eyes, and just tap where I tap and repeat back what I say. Even though I might have some resistance as a leader,
Even though I might have some resistance as a leader,
I choose to love and accept myself.
I choose to love and accept myself.
Even though I might feel some resistance as a leader,
Even though I might feel some resistance as a leader,
I choose to love and honor myself.
I choose to love and honor myself.
Even though I might feel some resistance as a leader,
Even though I might feel some resistance as a leader,
I might be holding myself back
I might be holding myself back
from being the leader I could be,
from being the leader I could be,
from being the leader
from being the leader
that part of me knows I really am.
that part of me knows I really am.
But I might be afraid of being that.
But I might be afraid of being that.
And even though I'm resisting being more of a leader,
And even though I'm resisting being more of a leader,
I choose to deeply and completely
I choose to deeply and completely
love, honor, and accept myself
love, honor, and accept myself,
and maybe anyone else who might contribute to this resistance.
and maybe anyone else who may contribute to this resistance.
All this resistance,
All
this resistance to being more of a leader.
this resistance to being more of a leader.
And part of me might be saying,
Part of me might be saying,
what are you talking about?
what are you talking about?
I am not resisting being more of a leader.
I am not resisting being more of a leader.
And I'm allowing myself to question that
And I'm allowing myself to question that
because that's what a real leader would do.
because that's what a real leader would do.
A real leader would look for where I might be holding myself back
A real leader would look for where I might be holding myself back
and where I could move forward.
and where I could move forward.
I may be resisting being more of a leader,
I may be resisting being more of a leader,
not because I am bad or stupid,
not because I am bad or stupid,
not because I am weak or lazy,
not because I am weak or lazy,
but because I have some old programming
but because I have some old programming
about why I couldn't or shouldn't be more of a leader.
about why I couldn't or shouldn't be more of a leader.
Maybe I feel there's too many responsibilities,
Maybe I feel there's too many responsibilities,
too many expectations.
too many expectations.
The greater the leader that I am,
The greater the leader that I am,
the more pressure will be on me.
the more pressure that'll be on me.
So I brilliantly hold myself back.
So I brilliantly hold myself back.
I choose to love and appreciate those parts of me
I choose to love and appreciate those parts of me
that are just trying to keep me safe.
that are just trying to keep me safe.
And I'm clearing the fears,
And I'm clearing the fears,
setting myself free
setting myself free
to feel great about being more of the leader I can be,
to be more
to
of the
feel
leader, to
to
feel
feel
great about
great
being more of the leader I can be.
in body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. With your eyes closed, go inside and imagine that leader in the mirror again, and just see if that feels more comfortable. Maybe rating yourself again on that scale of 0 to 10 and seeing if you feel that that number's come up or if it feels more doable. And you may have some ideas about, oh, here's something that I could do to cultivate more leadership qualities inside myself.
That's really weird.
And feel free to open your eyes again for everyone.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So what you guys didn't see is, yeah, I was tapping the whole time and following where I should tap. It's super easy. And I'm guessing on your videos, that's kind of what we do, right? Is follow your lead. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I didn't feel terrible. But what I was going through, I had a kind of day today where, there's no exaggerating here. We had, 7 contractors in our house today doing different things
Oh my.
at different times, a lot of them overlapping. And we've been through that. We're remodeling a house. But anyway, we didn't
Everyone
really.
be tapping here because this is one of those things where people block success because they go, see, this is why I don't want to be successful because then I'll be able to hire contractors and I'll have to go through what Ken is going through. And if I can just hold myself back, that'll never be an issue.
There you go. No, and everybody's cool and everybody's doing their job, but it wasn't really scheduled, right? It just happened this way. And so all day today, I've been in my mind behind, not stepping into the fullest version of myself. So when I did the first thing of seeing myself, and I usually feel pretty good. I mean, I really do, but like usually if you say, how would you feel? I'm usually going to be like 8, 9, 10. This time it was more like 6, 7. Not off the charts bad, but not my normal self. And through doing that, when I reimagined myself there, it was sort of already back to a 9. It almost like cleared the events of the day. And even now that I'm talking about it, it was almost like my inner voice or something is almost telling me like, it was just a few hours. Like, it's not reflective of who you are. It's not reflective of how life is. It was just a few hours. Like, so already kind of, yeah, that already kind of went through. That's cool.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we change our minds and we recognize, you know, life happens, and
Yeah.
we can't expect ourselves to always be at a 10 through everything, but it's allowing ourselves to go, okay, but that doesn't mean I failed.
Right.
Just because our mind, we have all this old programming and things that we've from our experiences, our own misunderstandings, and other people's misunderstandings they put on us that, oh, if you're supposed to be a 10 and you were a 9 or God forbid an 8, then obviously you're not the leader that you are. And we start to have them moan it down instead of going, no, I'm a human being and
Right.
I kick butt as a leader and I'm still a human being. And that's part of what makes me a great leader
Right.
because I know what it's like to be human and then I can let go of this story that's telling me, oh, now I should feel bad about not feeling awesome.
Well, and you know what's interesting is like during the day today, when the day got knocked a little off its axis a little bit, the thought pattern I was running was constantly. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not showing up the way I need to. I'm not showing up the way I need to. Like I'm running behind. I'm not. I'm not. Oh, I'm not ready for this. Oh, another thing. Oh, I got to make this call, right? And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way on a busy day or a day that doesn't go according to plan. But yeah, it's making me kind of think like I don't know. Maybe a better, maybe a more thoughtful to myself approach would be these are the cards that are dealt today, right? Like just like there is that. I mean, Tony's gotten a lot of mentions here today, but he has this one where he says nothing has any meaning except for the meaning we give it. So why did I choose to give the meaning to some external circumstances coming into how I feel about myself internally during the day, which it's kind of odd, right? That's the immediate association.
And that's where we want to be curious instead of judgmental
Right.
and look at it and going, okay, isn't that interesting that I was condemning myself and judging myself? Why is that? And I could probably look back and tapping helps us because wherever we're at, it's because the amalgamation of our thoughts and beliefs is telling us this is how I should be at the moment.
Right.
And so it's looking at, okay, what are the things that happened in the past that tell me that I should be this way? And then what are things from the past telling me I should be upset at myself for
Right.
being this way, and that that's somehow a failure on my part. But we get stressed out when we start to look at those things. So as we tap and we calm down the stress, and we start peeling layers of the onion, and we start to look at, oh, yeah, this reminds me of this time when I was in the fifth grade and I had this reaction and then someone said that I was being stupid. And not only was I having this uncomfortable reaction, but now I felt stupid about that. And then and then it happened again at another time. And part of me just said, well, that's just the way it is. And as Tony said, it has no real meaning. It's just the
Right.
meaning that we put on it. And the meaning we put on it was we were doing the best we could at that time. And the people who taught us those meanings were doing the best they could. They had misunderstandings, and then they defended those misunderstandings because I don't want to look stupid. So yeah,
Right.
the uncomfortable response I have is totally the appropriate response to have, and you should have it too.
Right.
And it's just like, yeah, it's all meaningless, and I'm letting it go. And the meaning is I'm awesome, and things happen, and just like Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements. A lot of folks have probably read that.
For
It
sure.
says,
Yeah.
do your best, but your best is going to be different at different times.
Right.
And know that. And don't judge yourself only by how you are at optimal levels.
Right. I've also noticed when I'm hanging on to certainty and expectations, because that's what it really was about today. I expect, here's the agenda. You know what I mean? Here's it. This is the way it'll go. And it's
Yes.
like, the universe doesn't always give a shit about my version of how the way it should go, right? So
Man plans, God laughs.
yeah, and so I think I probably approached today with a little, a lot on the schedule, wanting to get it done a certain way, and getting curveballs from kind of first thing in the morning, until right up until now, right? So, yeah, it's really cool. Now, do you do live? I know you work with clients as well, but do you do live work? Tell me about all the ways that people work with you. Obviously, your YouTube channel is an intro, but what else?
Yeah, I have group sessions that I do online. I work with clients around the world, do it all by Zoom. And then I also do live workshops. Got one coming up this weekend, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to do those around the world. As a recovering actor, those are always my favorite because I'm on stage with a live audience.
Sure.
But yeah, yeah, and then I have various programs on live. Like I have a free 5-day program called Tap into Your Best Self that folks can pick up on my website. Oh, actually, two of them: Tapping Your Best Self, and then also Success Beyond Belief. And it's a 5-day tapping program about clearing the stuff that limits that.
How does this work, or partner maybe with like a meditation practice or something like that? Because I know a lot of the things that maybe the outcomes that people get from tapping, a lot of them might be similar to something like a good meditation practice, right? Um, do you recommend incorporating them together? Like, well, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, I guess what I'm thinking of with tapping is I, I, I like that it's kind of getting at something. Do you know what I mean? Meditation, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to get because the whole idea is to release from thought, whereas this one is to go ahead and maybe engage with it and tap through it, right?
I think they go great together. I said I still use a hypnosis. I call it a guided imagery or a guided meditation in the work to sort of seal in some of the benefits that we've gotten through the tapping work. Uh, Tapping and meditation are both parts of my morning routine. Uh, the tapping can help us get into a meditative state because unless you're a really practiced meditator, if you're feeling some anxiety, it may be hard to get into that space. The tapping can
Yeah.
help release that and create more space to go into
I
that.
can actually vouch for that. I mean, because like at the beginning when we got on, and like I said, I just kind of walked from chaos into here, and I don't know if you could hear him, but the dog is still barking down there at contractors and stuff, and whatever they're handling it. But yeah, like now I could go in and meditate, and I think completely chill. Like my ability to go in and out. And there's very few people. I remember, I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but I just will. I was in Dubai a few months ago speaking at a conference over there, and walking through the Dubai airport, it's a big airport, right? Big international airport. And there was a guy sitting on like one of those 3-tier, like heavy duty luggage cart kind of things. You know what I mean? The ones where like even on the second shelf, you could put like 100-pound bags, right? And he's like on the second shelf, looks almost dead. He's meditating so hard. You know what I mean? Like he is gone. And I'm like, how do you do that, man? In the middle of an airport, takes a lot of practice, I guess, but I do have that monkey mind a lot of times going into meditation. And the only rule, I guess, that I have for myself is to hang out. Like I've learned not to make judgments or anything. So it's like, all right, if it's going to take 5 minutes of my mind running nonsense programs, then so be it. My job is not really to control that. My job is just to hang out for 10 minutes or 15 or whatever I'm dedicating.
Yeah. What I like about tapping is that when we get into a stressful situation, like there's 7 contractors in my house,
Sure.
it's very hard to go, all right, I'm just going to go and meditate right now. Unless you're this guy at the Dubai airport who's obviously had,
Yeah.
all this training, it may be very hard to get there. This does not take any practice, or I can just start tapping right now, and it's going to start to downregulate my stress. It
Right.
may be profound. It may be, ooh, I just let go of a lot right there. And it may be, okay, I feel a little bit better. And any incremental benefits we get are better than nothing.
Sure.
And the tapping is always working. Even if someone just went through this exercise with us right now, they may say, I don't feel any different. But if I hooked you up to certain machines and checked some of the physiological markers, we could see, all right, some of the cortisol is down. We could look at brain activity and see that it shifted. So we're always getting benefit from it, even if it's not necessarily profound. And it's, like you said, you had these expectations. And it's been said that expectations are just premeditated upsets.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
this is how it should be. And
Yep.
if it isn't, I have to feel bad.
Right.
It was a sucky contract to have with ourselves, but we are so trained to do that.
Right.
We've been trained from an early age, have this expectation, and if it doesn't work out exactly as it's supposed to, you have to feel bad about that because otherwise you'll lose all motivation and all this and all this nonsense.
Right.
It's all nonsense. But we're so convinced of that it's like, well, if I don't feel upset about this, I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
Oh, that's a good thing to tap on. This fear that I'm doing it wrong. This fear that okay, now I can think more clearly and I can make much better choices because I cannot get upset enough to change the fact that the seven contract, it's like, what am
Right.
I going to do? Get so upset enough that I throw them out of the house and then the
Right.
work doesn't get done?
Right.
That's not a solution.
I was actually glad they were here, like, because there's a bunch of stuff we needed done, but yeah, just the timing, right?
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? I'm thinking of a story that I'm not particularly proud of, but I'll share it anyway. But it's an
Feel
early
free to
career.
tap while you tell the story, Ken, and
It's an
clear any
early.
residual upset about it.
There you go. No, it's an early career thing. But I remember a guy that worked for me named David, and David, such a terrific guy, and he's one of those guys that whenever you walk in, like in hindsight, he just got it. Like, and I ended up realizing that, not just now, but like while I still worked with him. But you couldn't, well, I shouldn't say you, the world couldn't break him. And what I mean by that is like, he was one of those guys who, how's it going, David? Hey, any day above ground's a great day. Like that kind of guy. You know what I mean? And it used to aggravate me because I'd be like, maybe his results for his group were crap from the month before. And I'd be like, I'd almost be like, kind of want you to be upset, man. You know what I mean? Like, and he just knew. He was older than me. He had been around a while. He had learned some things. And it wasn't that he didn't care. It was just that, I have this circumstance over here, which might be in his case, last month's operating results or whatever for his group. It didn't. It not only it didn't mean he didn't care about it. In fact, he was probably able to approach and solve those problems a lot better from like a clear state of mind. Whereas I was so wound up that I'd be like, if you're not freaking out, then like you don't care. You know what I mean? Like that was the
Exactly.
perception I had back then.
A lot of us have that messaging. If you're
Yeah.
not upset, you don't care. And we do this in relationships, we do this with work, we do this all kinds of things. It's like the bumper sticker that says, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention.
Right.
But we have this obligation to be in this stress zone. It's like, yeah, but we don't make the best choices from that place.
Right.
A lot of outraged people are going to make really bad choices.
Right.
So recognizing, okay, and is clearing that fear that if I'm not upset, then I'm not paying attention. It's like, no, I can pay attention because I choose to have this intention of things being the best they can be.
Yeah.
But I want to be thinking clearly so I can make the best choices to get there.
Totally.
And it's not a lack of outrage. It's like the Wright brothers didn't invent the airplane because they were outraged at having to be on the ground.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
I can't take it anymore. I've got to get in there.
So pissed off. My friend Tommy Rosen, who's been on the podcast a couple times, really good thought leader. He's in like the recovery space, but just an awesome guy and personal development space. I'll paraphrase this story, but he was talking to a friend of his. This was a couple years ago out here for New York's, I think, midterm elections or whatever. And it doesn't matter what side of the political fence someone is on. It's not even pertinent to the story. Whatever side this person was on, they were talking to Tommy, and Tommy was like, okay, that's interesting. Like this person was really like worked up about whatever they thought. And the person said, you should be outraged, like directing Tommy, like you should, almost the same way I did with David. You should be outraged at these. And Tommy was like, yeah, no, like, no.
Hard pass.
No. I mean, if there's something I can have an effect on and I'm passionate about it, then I can take that approach. But no, I just choose not to be outraged. And I was like, but I mean, God, that bumper sticker you just quoted was like perfect, right? That I don't need to be outraged to make a difference, right? And in fact, I'm going to make a better leader. I'm going
Yes.
to make better decisions and all that if I'm coming from a place of calm, thoughtfulness, groundedness, right?
Yeah. As Dr. King said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only
Right,
light can do that. Hate
right,
cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And, we look at what am I outraged about? It's like, okay, now I want to be, I understand that that's pushing a fear button for me. Ideally, we do something like tapping to comment and go, okay, what can I do about this? Because a bunch of people, we see it on social media, a bunch of people sitting at home being outraged and just attacking each other and not doing anything positive.
Right.
Look for what's the positive thing you can do. Instead of being
Right.
against something, be for something. Like, okay, I want to create a positive outcome here. And from a place of outrage, our prefrontal cortex is shut down, and we are, coming from old, caveman mentality.
Yeah.
We are not coming up with the best solutions.
Right.
So it's allowing us to go, okay, I understand that I'm outraged. It's not that I'm wrong for being outraged.
Right.
So just to be clear, I'm not saying anger is bad. All
Right.
emotions serve a purpose, but it's like a smoke detector going off and saying there's something to pay attention to. Great. Now I want to turn that off and I want to go, okay, here's something that needs to be paid attention to. Now I want to be in as peaceful a zone as possible so I can have my prefrontal cortex fully engaged and look for what is the best thing I can do to really come up with a solution instead of just sitting here, oh, the smoke detector is going off. I have so much noise and I'm grabbing pots and pans and banging on it, just trying to drown that out. It's like,
Right. Right.
not helpful.
No, that is a really good analogy, and I think that, not to move this all the way over there because I know we got to wrap up, but I if more people would spend time trying to find out what you have in common, maybe what you're not outraged about. Um, Outrage again can serve, like you said, a purpose, the same as the smoke alarm does. For, oh, okay, why am I feeling this way? What do I want to do about it? Is there something positive I can do about it? If I'm not going to do anything about it, maybe I ought to just frame that or put some boundaries around it, right? If there is something positive I can do, then let's move forward in a positive direction. The number of people who are upset about politics and stuff like that, but other than voting, they're not out there, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'd say the greater majority, including myself at times, aren't exactly out there making a difference, right? So in the political area, right? So it's I've started leaning towards, and again, I don't mean this in a political way, but more in a life way of, can we be more centrist? Can we look for more common threads? Can we look for more? You know what I mean? In politics, in life, in whatever, social media. Again, I mean, I think we're hunting for those that oppose us. We're looking for reasons, and we've been programmed, I think, for reasons to be outraged.
Those buttons are pushed. There's an expression, amygdala hijack.
Yep.
And a lot of politics is intended to make you afraid,
Yeah.
because when I'm afraid and anger is just an expression of fear. I
Right.
only get angry because there's a fear underneath that.
Yeah.
But the more upset that I get, angry, scared, whatever, prefrontal cortex, the amygdala is going off. I go into fight or flight. Prefrontal cortex goes off, and I'm much more easily manipulated.
Right.
If I can get you really upset, then you're going to do what I tell you. And here's what you need to be afraid of, and here's how I'm going to help. And it's not a side because everybody's doing it, and so it's looking at, and yeah, what are people doing? They go on social media and they attack each other,
Right.
and not to shame anyone for that. You're doing the best you can. If you're doing that, it's because you're responding. You're afraid. You're looking for something. It doesn't do any good. No one, when you write to somebody on social media, you're such an idiot. You're not paying attention. No one says,
Thank
thank
you.
you for that feedback. You're right. I will go now and watch your news service and get the correct story.
Right.
It just creates a bigger divide. So outrage does not get us to where we want to be in terms of creating a world that works for everybody.
Right.
And we're all doing the best we can. And LP, be supposition. We're all doing the best we can in any given moment based on our circumstances and our programming.
Right.
And the tapping, it helps us to calm down and go, okay, wait a minute. Let me step back here. What am I afraid of? Why am I responding like this? And what do I really want?
Right.
And what is something that I can do? And if someone writes something that I disagree with, is there something that I can do to be helpful here? Or do I just send them peace? And I just
Right.
say, hey, this person is suffering, and And I want to, that's why I wear my wristband to remind me, cultivate peace.
Right.
I know that you want to cultivate something else right now, but no, cultivate peace, and hoping that if that person then can feel more peace, then they might see things differently,
Right. Well,
and
and it
and
comes
and
back to
not be
what you
attacked
said
with
at
it.
the beginning that if they can feel more peace, if a lot of people can feel more peace, it becomes a more peaceful world, and there is something in that for all of us, right? So,
Amen.
yeah, well, it's been awesome having you on. It went by super fast. I feel like we could stay on this for a while, but unfortunately, there are still people in the house, and I got to go take care of them.
Got things to do.
And I'm sure you do too. But Brad, it's been awesome. I'm sold. That live demo really worked. So I'm definitely going to be diving into your YouTube channel and your online offerings even more. We'll put all the ways of how to get hold of you in our show notes. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure, Ken. Thanks so much for this opportunity to share this work.
You got it. Take care.